still do 7 NUFC Matters shows for free a week. But if you want to support the channel, there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast or video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications option. Hit the thanks button to buy a super sticker. You can do this on the live chat too. You can also join our Patreon page or buy us a coffee at the link in all of our video descriptions below. We are also looking for sponsors. If you want our latest advertising rates and how you can get involved, then email John at nufcmatters1892@gmail.com. Thanks for watching.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright when they come and say to you, you're the only thing that makes us all believe.
Good morning. Welcome along to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith. It is a live Q&A. We do quite a few of these over the course of the season, so it's your chance to ask me a few questions as opposed to asking the guests a few questions. And just want to say thank you to everybody who tuned in last night. Don't often do two shows back to back, but to do Super Matt and Gibbo and then followed off by the other great legend, Mitch, was nice. I enjoyed it, and I hope you did too. Don't expect that every night, mate. I'll meet myself coming backwards. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyed that. Great feedback as well. I know Mitch enjoyed it. Let's just get a quick swig of me coffee. And let's get into the questions. I know John Askew has emailed us a few over, so let me get them up. And also, Gary in the chat. He says, Steve, there seems more chatter this time around regarding Eddie, especially after Carragher's comments. As a big supporter of Eddie and what he's done for the club, is the press trying to make news? When did the press never try to make news about Newcastle United? Look, we're going through a bad spell, but we've been through a bad spell before. And it's really been a bad spell because we're away form. We're away form has been absolutely awful. And, you know, as has been well publicised, the last time we won, away was against Leicester City. You can't really count the Carabao Cup. That was a one-off cup final. It wasn't an away game. You know, it was a game on neutral ground between two teams for a cup. So, yeah, the last time we won was Leicester City. For me personally, you know, Newcastle's always going to be a big story. Even when we were in the Championship or the second division, Newcastle was always looked at as the team in the northeast, a sleeping giant. We make good headlines, and people love to stir it up, and even more so now. And social media emphasizes stuff. It gives it a bigger platform. So yeah, it's not something I'm concerned about. I think Eddie will ride the storm. I think Eddie will get it right. I think the return of Livramento and Lewis Hall and Wissa will help Newcastle, you know, finally get that win on the road, and of course will help Newcastle climb up the league. So yeah, I'm quietly confident that Eddie will turn it around. I don't think there's any need for panic, but the media will always, you know, exaggerate, especially online. Good morning, Colin. Good to see you in the chat. Yes, early start. Busy day today, mate. I'm in London quite a bit these days, as I'm sure most of you know, and got a very big film investors meeting tonight. It's a social as well as a get together, but yeah, very big day for a few projects which I'm helping a company work on. So yeah, all work but a little bit of play as well, it has to be said. So I'm looking forward to catching up with a few faces. Was down in London as well at the weekend for the match, of course, but also took in an evening at the Kit Kat Club, which has nothing to do with chocolate. It's the cabaret. And if you ever get a chance to go to it, slightly expensive for tickets, but London prices, it was acceptable. It was £100 for a ticket, but what a great show. First half was 1 hour 45, second half was 45, but it's an immersive cabaret show based on the musical, life is a cabaret old chum. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Went with a few friends. Excellent, great performances from the actors, and yeah, my kind of thing. I've got to be perfectly honest. On the Saturday, I was at the BFI in London to see the screening of 2 episodes of Blake 7, and it was the official launch of the Blu-ray of Series B. And I was there with Jan Chappell, who played Callie, Sally Navette, who played Jenna, and had a fantastic time. And yeah, it was great, very well received, and they made some wonderful changes to it. So for those of you who didn't know, I am a Blake 7 fan. There's a lot of Doctor Who fans out there as well who've had the privilege of having their old episodes be converted to Blu-ray. Some wonderful remastering of some pretty basic footage back in the 70s, but it's fantastic to see Blake 7 being given a rebirth and a new life. Some great additions on this DVD as well. There is some interviews with some of the old cast members, and it's great. So yeah, well worth going to see that. That was my weekend. Spoilt by the football, of course, but that's not new. Can I remember? I haven't played a false nine before elsewhere, of course. If so, do you think he could do a job for us, Roger? I don't think. I don't think he'll play through the middle. I think Mitch alluded to it last night, and it's not for us to say. There has been issues, I think, for Alanga behind the scenes. I think it's fair to say that. Can't elaborate on what we've heard because it would be spreading fake news, false news perhaps, but from the people that we know, from the people that we speak to on a regular basis, all behind the scenes hasn't been great. Not on a football side, just personal level. And I think Mitch pointed to it. He's got a baby on the way. That can change things massively in a person's life. We have to remember, and I'll re-emphasize what Mitch said last night. And footballers are humans, guys. They're like us. They all go through stresses. And yes, they might have a little bit more money in the bank than us, but that doesn't mean we're immune to life and what goes on in life. And I think that's something that, is always worth bearing in mind if a player is off form or maybe he's not firing on all cylinders. He's also coming to a new club, and it is so difficult. It is so difficult to settle sometimes. But I also think that the situation that we have where the side seems to be unbalanced at the minute because we tend to play one way. We're set up to play one way, but we can't do that because we haven't got the players available to do that. I think that plays a big part. I don't want to see Alanga moved as a false nine. I don't think that's right. I'd rather stick with Gordon up front, play Barnes on the left, and play Murphy or Alanga on the right, and stick to the formation we know. Surely that's going to result in more goals and certainly less defeats. I think that will be it. Graham Morton, good morning. Says morning all, no video, Steve. Not doing your hair. You mustn't have watched one of these before, Graham. I never come on camera for this. I don't like to. It's more informal, this chat, and it's an opportunity really for me just to chat to you guys. I find it a bit easier, and I'm sure you don't want to see me constantly taking a slip of water or my coffee while I'm talking to you. I think that's quite rude. So yeah, that's why I do it like this way, Graham. But you maybe never watched one before. What follows a bad spell is a good spell. We just need a decent win. Yeah, Colin, you're right, and that's what happened last year. That's what happened last year, if you remember. Around about this time, we lost against Brentford, and Newcastle went on this incredible run, which ultimately led us to the Carabao Cup final, and of course got us to the Champions League. So who's to say it won't happen again? At the minute, it looks doom and gloom, and everyone's down, and we all have moments like that. But the word supporter means support. You support through thick and thin, and that's what you've got to do. And you know, as somebody who's quite lucky enough to be able to go to away games, afford to go to away games, get tickets for away games, nothing is emphasised more about being a supporter than when you're standing at West Ham or Brentford at the end of the match and you're applauding the players. You can see the hurt in their faces. They aren't happy that they've been beat, but you're there and you're clapping them and they appreciate that just as much as they appreciate having a packed away end, singing their names when they've beaten, you know, a team like Sunderland in the FA Cup, for example, a big game. So yeah, look, it's supporting is not just a part-time hobby when you're winning. And that's what we've got to remember. And a decent spell will be around the corner. This team and this squad is too good not to have a decent spell at some point. Roger, you're right. Newcastle is the easy target for the media. It always has been. Morning, Trolls. I'm just hoping our players that are here now start scoring goals again. I think they will. Do you think Elliot Anderson will be back in Newcastle one day? Tom, I don't think he'll come back. I don't really think he will come back at all. And why would he come back at the moment? He's in the England squad. He's playing for Forest. I just can't see it. And I don't think at the moment, I just don't think Newcastle would do the deal. I just don't think it would happen. Am I saying I don't want him back? No, of course I'm not. But at the same time, I just I would find it hard to believe that he would come back to Newcastle. He'd have to be given guarantees, and nobody can be given guarantees. Alanga problem. Can Alanga play in games where we have the ball? For me, it's just a counter-attack. That's what Forest were under Nuno. What would you do with him? I'm not sure he's going to work. I think he will work. I think when we get a forward that can thrive off the kind of service that he gives, I think he will. I think he will work. But it's up to Eddie to coach him, and that is why part of the reason Alanga signed, he wanted to be in that position. Jacob Ramsey did the same. Jacob Ramsey at the moment's an enigma. You know, he's not really somebody who is, you know, done anything startling. He's not scored. He's not really assisted. He's been out with an injury. But you've got to give Eddie time. He can't just wave a magic wand and sort things after 4 or 5 games or 10 games. He's got to have time to work with these players. And I think by his own admission, he hasn't been able to work with the players on the training ground because of the international breaks and because of the European games. There hasn't been much training. And I think that's starting to show. I think that's the biggest problem for Newcastle, not being able to train. It is a dip in form. We will get over it, Wolf, 100%. The price for Anderson isn't worth it, in my opinion, if he sees out his contract, or they lower the price. I can't see him coming back. No, I don't think as well. Roger agrees, a great player, only getting better. I think we'll find someone else before that. Has Howe earned the right and the credit in the bank to have a mediocre league season as long as relegation isn't a threat and give him all the time he needs? He's got credit in the bank. There's no doubt about it, mate. There's no doubt about it. He's got an abundance of credit in the bank. And I don't see PIF making a decision. You know, it would be, in the words of Freddie Fletcher, when they got rid of Odegaard Delis, it would be like shooting Bambi. Or was it Freddie Shepherd who said that? But yeah, it wouldn't be right. And I don't think that the fans will be happy with that either. But look, for me personally, I think, yeah, he's got credit in the bank 100%. A couple of poor performances focuses the mind with them lot down the road starting while it's only heaped the pressure. And I agree with that, Graham, 100%. That does make it worse. You know, lots of Sunderland fans now come up and have a chat with me, you know, different places I go to. And, you know, we obviously do the podcast on a weekend about, you know, the 3 Northeast teams. And there's definitely a change in, you know, in attitudes from Sunderland supporters. And listen, that's great. That's what you want. You want good competition. You want the teams going neck and neck with each other. But ultimately, you want Newcastle United to be above Sunderland. I still think we will be at the end of the season. It's a long way to go. Things aren't handed out in November. And I know a lot of Sunderland fans who will tell you exactly the same. You know, they're being quietly cautious. And rightly so, because things can change in a matter of moments in the Premier League, and you can end up on a downward spiral. Their bad run will come. Maybe try and turn Alanga into a striker like we turned Big Joe into a centre midfielder. I don't see that happening. I really don't at this moment in time. What do you drink, tea or coffee? I always start the day with a cup of tea. I do like a cup of tea, not really milky. I like a strong cup of tea. I always have 2 cups of coffee a day. I try to limit into that. It's only if I'm going up and down the country or I'm on meetings or whatever that I have more than 2 cups of coffee. I find that I tend to get a headache if I don't. I get a it's something psychological. Do I get a headache if I don't have coffee? I think I miss a coffee. I miss that coffee hit. But yeah, and I'll always have a cup of tea on a night time before, while I'm chilling out and watching some TV. So yeah, I don't drink a load, but I would say probably a couple of cups of tea, one at the start of the day, one at the end of the day, and a couple of cup of coffees during the day, and that's my lot. Square pegs and round holes isn't the answer. I 100% agree with you on that. Gordon doesn't score as a striker, drifts out of the wings no better than Alanga as a 9. Yeah, I get that. But you know what? Ultimately, with Gordon, he's still capable of scoring the odd goal. I think he'd probably score more goals than Alanga. I genuinely do think he would score more goals than Alanga. We had players like Gordon scoring last season. We don't have that now. It's okay to criticise when the team is crap as they've been. That's part of being a supporter. Yeah, it is. But criticising the right way. We'll support you ever more. We're going to win all, but we still follow United. Yeah, it's there in a lot of the songs, isn't it? I've always supported the club through thick and thin. We've had more thin spells than most. I'm used to it. I've seen a lot worse than we are currently going through. Yeah, 100%, mate. We have. There's no doubt about that. How has been here for 4 seasons and working with 90% of the players we have, so he should know how to get the players going. Yeah, I agree with that. But when you're building a team around somebody like Alexander Isak and he leaves under a cloud like he did in the summer, that's going to create a problem. Had Newcastle got Ekitike in the summer, it would have been probably as you were. But the fact that we haven't been able to replace Alexander Isak with a like-for-like striker, that's the problem. And that will remain to be the problem until that is addressed. Now, is Wissa going to be able to come in and do that? Is he going to be a temporary fix at the age of 29 and come in and be able to hit the ground running and get us back to our pressing game? Possibly. But it's a lot of pressure on the shoulders of Johan Wissa to come in and hit the ground running. But that's where the problem is. It's as simple as that. We thought it might be a problem. It was papering over the cracks when Voltemada scored 6 goals in as many games, more or less. And now we're starting to, see the reality. And the problem is when you start conceding goals like we have done over the last couple of away games, suddenly it looks fractured. The team looks fractured, and that's a problem. And we've looked lethargic. We've looked tired in the last couple of away games. We haven't looked the team that we know we can be. So that's where the worry and the concern is. Will the owners accept their partner climate of summer? They've got to. And I think that was the point that Mitch was making last night on Ask Mitch, that, who was in control of our summer? Who was in control of our summer? Steve Hasty mentioned the 2 Saudi names in the chat last night who were in charge of running things. And yes, they have to hold their hands up and say, we got it wrong. We got those appointments wrong. Those people who we put into those positions, and those people who left us without a director of football during a busy summer when we could actually spend some money, they're the ones who got it wrong. And spending a vast amount of money, as Gibbo said, on Voltemada, who made that decision? That decision could prove to be, a painful one. We're not criticising Voltemada on yet. I know people keep saying, "Oh, you're criticising Voltemada." We're not. He's a good player, but he's not going to be the man who scores you 25 goals a season. He's not the replacement for Alexander Isak, and that's at the moment that's what we need. We need somebody to replace him, and that's not going to be easy. It really isn't. It is quarter of the season, Ian, and people are working themselves into a hysteria, and that is what happens. No, I don't drink beer. I stopped drinking beer when I was 40. So that's 13 years I haven't had beer, any lager, real ale, Guinness. I stopped drinking that. I drink vodka, lime and soda if I'm out having a social, and I will drink red wine with meals. That's it. I don't drink white wine. Prosecco, of course, if it's a celebration, I'll have that. Champagne, of course, if somebody's, if you're a wedding or something. But no, I don't drink beer, mate. I stopped drinking it when I was 40. And that's it. It really was a fitness thing. I started training at the gym properly, cardio, etc. when I was 40. And I've lost, I lost quite a bit of weight. I used to do the doors in Newcastle. I was 17 stone 2. I'm down to about 14 and a half stone is my weight now. And it was a big change in my life, Blue Rhythm Boy, but not one that I regret. I always felt I tried it. I was going to try it for 6 weeks. And here I am 13 years later without a beer. Sunderland have got one objective this season, to finish 17th or above. Yeah, and that's right, 100%. That's their aim this season. But you've got to say good luck to them in the sense that, I think they will easily be mid-table. But they're giving it a go. You can't deny that. I always say, I want to see Sunderland in the same division, but as long as we're above them, and my mindset never changes on that. But it has been awkward this season so far, watching the two teams and how they've progressed. But we could still end up winning the cup final and finishing above them. I could still see that. You said last night the Gordon can be a 10. Will we see that with a 4-3-3? Eddie, you can't predict what Eddie's going to do. I said this, I think I said this on the Gibbo and Supermax show last night. I could, Dan Burn, I can't see him dropping him. I think he'll be centre half. I could easily see him playing Livermore at left back, not playing Hall, and playing Trippier right back and playing Malik Chow alongside Burn. I think that would be a back four. I do think you could turn on Pope and play Ramsdale. I think Ramsdale might get an opportunity, but I think the thing that keeps me thinking that might not happen this season is that it's not a permanent signing. Why would you upset a keeper who's your number one and permanent on your books at this moment in time and still in the reckoning with England? Why would you upset him by playing somebody that's only on loan from a club and might not sign permanently? You wouldn't, would you? So I don't think that Eddie Howe thinks like we do. I really, really don't. Drugs, I've been a supporter since '93, so supporting through thick and thin, to be fair, yeah. 84 for me. But been there, done it, and got the t-shirts. Favourite chant for a current player, Steve? I think Malik Chow and the Voldemort here to win ones are brilliant. You know what, Blue Rhythm boys, you get older, you do pay less attention to songs. I mean, I've spent probably the last 20 years, my dad going, what are they singing? And for me, you do become more switched off. I think the Tonali song's probably, the Moretti Tonali song's probably my favourite at this moment in time still. I think some of the songs they're doing now are quite complicated for fans to pick up. I don't know, but that's an age thing maybe. I think a lot of the ones that we did back in the day were a lot more simplified. But there we go. How doesn't rotate? That's the biggest issue. Yeah, I mean, he's got to rotate though. That's the thing. He has to rotate now. I'm Eddie's number one, but for me now he's on strike one after Brentford. Burn yellow and left on. Poor possible cushion left on. These decisions were mind-boggling. Hopefully this is his wake-up call. It's a fair point. I can't argue with people saying that. It'll be interesting to see who we bring in the January window. Hopefully we've got some players in. Yeah, I think we will bring people in. I really do think we'll bring people in. Despite the fact Wisser is on his way back, do we actually think he's going to contribute a lot until at least January? Should we make it a priority for new forward? I've said we need a new forward. That is the priority for me, Gary, 100%, mate. I am concerned if we don't bring somebody in because Asula is not the answer and there's a lot of pressure on Wisser's shoulders. Been listening to John Gibson last night. It doesn't sound like Wisser's going to be back anytime soon. So that's going to be a disappointing thing, isn't it? Voldemort is a good player, but doesn't fit in our current system. I believe the system needs to adapt to accommodate Voldemort. The way we press has changed big style. Yeah, and it's the point I've been trying to make without sounding as if I'm criticising Voldemort. I'm not criticising Voldemort. I've praised him on here. I think he's a really good player. I love the way that he plays. I love his little layoffs. He only had 4 or 5 touches of the ball at the weekend. One of them was to lay off to Barnes to score the goal. He finds space. He's aware of the players around him, and he's got a lovely touch for a big fella, and he can score the odd-headed goal. So that's great. His weakness probably is that he doesn't face the goal. He doesn't push on and run forward, and he doesn't seem to strike the ball a great deal. But has he had that many chances? I'd love to see him have a dig from 15, 20 yards and see what his shot's like. We've seen 1 or 2, hit the bar, hit the post, whatever. But yeah, it's a strange one. He looked the kind of player that you would play in front of the midfield and behind Wisser. So maybe that's something that Eddie would do at some point in a game, but he's already made it quite clear that he doesn't play with a number 10. So that's not something he's going to chase moving forward. Always had cats, Ian. Always had cats, mate. A few goldfish over the years as well. Do you think something's wrong behind the scenes, Steve? Not en masse. Like I said, I'm not going to go into any details of stuff that people have shared with us. That's not what we do on here, and we don't like to cause any problems and issues and rumours. But yeah, there is stuff being circulated. I know the journalists, because I always cross-reference with the journalists, that there are a few issues behind the scenes for a player or two, and it's personal stuff which you wouldn't discuss on here, and nothing massively serious, but just stuff which would unsettle somebody. So, and we see this up and down the country. It's not something that's only tied to Newcastle. I don't want to say any more, Chippers, because I don't want to create something which somebody picks and runs with, and then it all comes back to Steve Wraith, or Mitch, or whatever, people who mentioned it on a podcast. But yes, I think there are things which can be addressed, which can be helped, and I do hope that they can be sorted out. But the ultimate reason that Newcastle aren't playing well is it's down to the players available, and it's down to the tactics, and it's down to losing Alexander Isak, whether we like it or not. It's really, it's really created a massive problem. Thank you, Tom. We enjoy doing threes a crowd. Our team should be doing light training between matches. Most clubs do. I think it's availability of players, isn't it? I think it's availability of players is the problem. International breaks takes people away. But again, some of these players as well are being asked to play through injuries, so they can't train on a regular basis. We've heard that Asula was training but not kicking the ball. Murphy was resting between games. It's but it's where Eddie's seen. Maybe our squad wasn't as good as we thought it was. Steve, you can't replace a £125 million striker. What needs to be done is innovation of style play. Can you see Eddie changing after this break? You won't change the formation. I think there'll have to be new things. There was talk of a new coach coming in, wasn't there? Well, maybe that freshens things up and gives new ideas. But at the moment, I can't see Eddie changing his style of play. I think he'll wait until those players come back. Having two quick fullbacks will change things massively, though. I wish we'd stop singing "This is the best trip at home" games. I know, mate. Yeah, 100%. Any chance of you getting on the overlap with Carragher and Neville, Newcastle often under or poorly represented on there? It's not something I want to do anymore. I had 25 years where I was literally the only person on the block covering Newcastle United, and I knew that it did get up some people's noses. For all of you lovely people on here, I love coming on, listening to what I've got to say 7 nights a week with a variety of people. With that also comes a bit of animosity and dislike from other people, and who's he to talk for me? I never talked for the fans. I only ever gave Steve Wraith's opinion. Only give my opinion, and I was never speaking on behalf of the fans. And I think I've left that behind. Blue Rhythm Boy, I've got this platform where I can come on, say what I want, and I've had one or two come back to us. I did do something yesterday for Check Television. That's the first thing I've done for television in since the takeover. I did a thing for Sky on the morning of the takeover in 2021, and that was the last thing I'd done for anything football related. But there was a Czech TV company approached me with Milan Černíček to do an interview about Pavel, because it's 10 years next month since Pavel passed away. So, yeah, I think I've left that behind, guys. I don't need to be talking about Newcastle United on a regular basis on TV when I can do it on my own platform and not get the criticism from the masses. I'll leave it to the young guns. Plenty of people now putting themselves forward and doing stuff, but I appreciate you thinking of me and saying that I could do well on there. We're the only team in the Premier League without a striker. I would imagine this will all be addressed. Yeah, Ria was on loan at Arsenal and replaced Ramsdale. Is that the difference between Arteta and Howe? A ruthlessness? Yeah, I think you do need to be ruthless. 100% you need to be ruthless, and I think Howe maybe needs to learn that. Listening to John last night was a concern. Only, in fact, we are kidding ourselves over Wissa and him getting fit. Yeah, it was. How do I feel about the derby? I'm nervous at the moment, but that's not unusual about a derby. I think if it was at St James's, I wouldn't be as concerned. But the fact that it's away and they're on such a high at this moment in time, on current form, if it was next week, Newcastle would probably go and win it, because form goes out the window in a derby. Where are we going to be in 4 weeks' time? Where are we actually going to be performance-wise? Will we have picked up a win on the road? Will we have progressed into the next level of the Champions League? Where are we going to be? I managed to order my ticket yesterday and get a place on the bus, so I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to Everton as well, new ground to visit, which is exciting. And of course, I'm off to Leverkusen as well. So yeah, look, plenty of exciting trips away coming up in the next month. But yeah, at the moment, on current form, you'd have to say Sunderland my favourite. I saw a comment the other day, Steve, that said Liverpool and Newcastle have the same problem. He's like, yeah, apparently the Liverpool fans are giving him a bit of stick. John Askew, let me get to his questions, because he did send me a few. In light of our current difficulties, do you think we'll make one or two significant signings in January? You could make all the difference. John, I think we'll make at least 2 signings. I think that's about right. Significant? I would hope so. I do think we do need a centre forward, but we also need a full back. That's the big difference. That could change everything. We can't afford to be going into another part of the season where somebody gets injured at full back and we're out without them for 3 months, and we'll have to play Dan Burn at left back. So a left back and a centre forward in January, and then in the summer some more investment potentially in the midfield area, at the right back area. Just continue to bin the squad, and you're going to have to sell players as well. Another question from John. If we fail to make Europe next season, there is clearly mitigation as suggested above, and for me, talk of Eddie's demise will be totally wrong. What do you think, and what would PIF think? I do think PIF are always going to watch the situation. They're always going to look at this and go, we've spent this money. What are we getting for it? I think a Carabao Cup win would change the fortunes. It's a trophy in the bank again. It's you're recapturing the trophy that you won last season. I think the Carabao Cup has become massively important again this season, and I think a run to Wembley will get Newcastle United, some good form, and get us back into Europe again in some way, shape, or form. I tip Newcastle to finish 5th and win the FA Cup. I'm gonna stick with that, right? I'm gonna stick with it. And it might be wrong. It might be the wrong cup, but I am gonna stick with it. But I think PIF will always be watching. But he's got credit in the bank. Are you looking forward to the return after the international break? Hall will be presumably fit. Tino close and Wissa moving closer. It's got to be good, of course. And the game on December the 14th is moving ever closer, says John. I've just spoke about that really, but yeah, just looking forward to the 2 fullbacks being fit, and hopefully Wissa before the start of the new year, because it seems to be getting put back. Are you confident that in time we'll build up a squad capable of thriving on all fronts? At the minute, we're a little threadbare, hence problems in the league. Yes, I am. I do feel that we'll build up a squad capable of thriving on all fronts. It's a work in progress. It's not going to change overnight, John. But yeah, I am confident we'll get there. At the start of the season, I thought we might struggle in the league. I predicted a finish in 8th, but hoped for a good cup run or 2. We haven't started the FA Cup. We're already doing okay in 2 competitions. Do you think sometimes some mags need to take a deep breath, look at the overall picture, and hesitate before judging our current situation a nightmare when it really is no such thing? Yeah, people do need to take a sharp intake of breath, but I understand. And it comes back to what I said at the start of the programme. That's where the media and the social media brigade dictate the mood. And I said it before, and I'll say it again. People literally, do get carried away, and that's understandable. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But I've also said, if it gets on your wick, what you see on social media, don't read it. Get off social media. Because if you want a sensible, level-headed conversation with like-minded people, give your mates a ring. Get in the WhatsApp group that you're in. Go to the pub and meet your mates, but it's not always going to be a bed of roses on social media if Newcastle lose 3-1 at Brentford and 3-1 at West Ham. So, you know what you've got to do. If you want level-headed conversation, do that. And also come to NUFC Matters, because, yeah, there's differences of opinion in the chats, but 99% of the time, I think it's always great. Moderators are great in here, but we always give, I would say, our opinion. We don't try to enforce our opinion on you, but you give your opinion. But it's all done in a very nice, sensible way. There's understandably been much talk about Dan Burn at left back. The main problem at the minute is lack of squad depth to deal with all the extra games, especially high-intensity Champions League games, and that goes back once again to the appalling FFP PSR system. Any thoughts, John? Let's see what happens with the Man City case. Keith Patterson put something out on Twitter last night, retweeted something which tended to suggest that we're going to hear the result of that soon. So let's see what happens. We've talked FFP and PSR on here till it's done to death. Let's just see what happens, Let's just see what happens. And Dan Burn at left back's been great on occasions. He's always going to get caught out against pace. I'm not in the anti-Dan Burn club, and I know most of you aren't. But you know what? We'll be fine. We'll be fine. Ian McDonald sent us an email as well. He says, why does everyone criticise Dan Burn all the time? He's not the greatest player in the world, but bleeds black and white. I'm a season ticket holder and we've watched our defence closely this season. In my opinion, Burn's a better option at centre-half than Botman. More dominant in the air, doesn't rely on pushing in the opponent before he attacks the ball. Chow, Burn, Lascelles attack the ball without having to do this. Is Botman that good that we've conceded 6 goals in 2 games? How would he do if Eddie moved him to left back like Dan Burn? Can any Newcastle supporter really name any game when Botman stood out as man of the match, as Burn has on occasions? Ian, great point, mate. 100%. Really agree with what you've had to say on that situation. And yeah, I don't think Botman has come back from the injury as the player that we signed. So there we go. John Askew, thanks as always for your questions anyway. Let's get back to the chat. I'm sure there'll be a few others in. Steve, who are the players at the club who you now think should be prioritised with new contracts, and who are the players that you think are fast becoming surplus to requirements? New contracts, Lewis Hall, Tyne Livramento, potentially Tonali. Look at his financial situation, try and persuade him to stay. Surplus to requirements, I would look at selling Botman because I don't think he's the player that we bought, and that's probably down to the 2 injuries. I also feel Bruno is probably past his best now, and could be one who could be used as a make weight, and Anthony Gordon could be. So I'm not saying sell all 3 players in the next 2 transfer windows, by the way, but you asked us to pick out players. I think any one of those 3 could be used to do that. Lewis Miley. If Lewis Miley is not going to be somebody regularly used, of course, if FFP stays the same, he's one of those players who genuinely could be, used in Newcastle, could make lots of money on it, Get Steve on Match of the Day. I did do that years ago, remember? Dressed as Mickey Quinn's son. Do you agree Hall being called up with the under-21s is silly? Just back from injury, already played for the senior side, so under-21s isn't a massive accolade. Yeah, I do think it's crazy. Gibbo mentioned it last night. Big problem is if he plays and he gets injured, Newcastle get a bit of compensation, but we're back to square one again with a full-back situation. And who do you play at left-back? That's the big worry, especially against Man City. Dan Burn will be suspended. Hall would be injured. What do you do? Livramento, is he going to be fit in the next couple of weeks? Who knows? But yeah, it's a big worry, that. It really is. 2 needs much better representation on the likes of the overlap. Yeah, I mean, lots of people put themselves forward these things. And, it's, they don't represent me. They don't represent you guys. They're only there to give their own opinion, to promote their own podcasts or whatever they do. And that's just the way it is. Unfortunately, I love doing what I did. I mean, I've got, lots of clips. I think some of them are on YouTube. I think I loaded them all up. I didn't want to lose them. I do laugh at sometimes some of the styles. And my hair was always the same. But I laugh at some of the styles and the clothes that I wore. I also laugh at some of the things I said. It was like a rinse and repeat, isn't it? When, I think Allardyce could be the man. Oh yes, I think Ruud Gullit could be the man. Oh yeah, I think Kenny Dalglish could be the man. Yeah. And no surprise to see Kenny Dalglish going. No surprise to see Ruud Gullit going, etc., etc. You get the picture anyway. You get the picture. But yeah, I did enjoy doing it. It was a good laugh. I'm an Old Matters member with the cup that I use every day. Is there a way to purchase the key ring and the coaster, or is this only for new members? Yeah, because Andrew, John, who used to do all of that for us, moved on, and yeah, we've got we've got the new membership now, which is we register. We still have your membership, the cup and the pen, etc. That is all still counts. You're all still part of the same membership group. But drop us an email, Andrew, and I'll see what I can do for you. Obviously, from our perspective, it should be easy enough to do. nufcmatterspodcast@gmail.com. I'll double check your membership number. I won't be able to do it today, but if you drop us an email, I'll see what I can sort out for you, pal. Come January, I'm hoping the scouting team have already done their due diligence and already have somebody in mind, maybe a young Brazilian. Let's see if there's any more questions. I'm just working my way down the chat now because I was doing all of John's questions. What kind of centre forward did you like, Steve? Big and physical or a whippersnapper? I like a whippersnapper. I love like a Loic Remy. They're my favourites. I loved Craig Bellamy as well. But for me, big and physical like Haaland, like Shearer, yeah, I can see the bonuses. I can see the differences. But I think with Voltemada, we've got the big lad. We need a small, quick lad. That's what we need for me, 100%. I think if we could get somebody who was pacey that would be great. I still think there's something in Asula, and I don't know what it is. And maybe we will end up selling him. Maybe he will go in the summer window. Maybe go in January. Who knows? But I think if we could get £30+ million for him, I think that would be a great bit of business. But if he stays, I think there's something there that we can do. I think there's something that we can work with Asula. I do think that. So it will be interesting to see what happens for him. It really will be. So, but yeah, I prefer a fast striker. I loved Loic Remy. I know he was only here a short space of time, but I loved him. Andy Cole, another great striker. Burns not dominant in the air. That's a myth. He lost half of his aerial duels and he's a giant. Dan is a good lad, but he's not top tier. And I don't think we've got a top tier centre half. We'll let Chow play out the rest of the season. I would say Chow is probably at this moment our best centre half. I would say after that it's probably Fabian Shaw. Who's still excellent and still scores goals. So yeah, it's a conundrum. But let's remember as well, these players haven't just suddenly become bad players because we've lost 2 games. You know, we were praising them. We're in the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup. We're 6th in the Champions League. It's our league form that's let us down, and we're away form in particular. So, you know, these players haven't become bad players overnight. Let's not forget that. Botman, yeah, I'd never sell Botman, says Trolls, which is interesting. I just don't think he's achieved what we hoped he would achieve. But yeah, listen, again, it's all about opinions. It really is. No money to be made from selling Burn. Botman, yes, but not Liverpool. I think Liverpool will continue, won't they? They'll continue to chase Mark Gahey. I think Mark Gahey will go there. I would have signed Mark Gahey. I know he's got a mistake in him, but I still think he would have been a good choice for Newcastle and Eddie. I'm not sure Newcastle at the moment is even in the running for Mark Gahey now because of the Malik Chow signing. But I think I would have gone for him. Yeah, because I think he's a decent player. I really do. I'd keep Burn as backup to Botman. I do like Burn still, you know, as part of the squad. I do think it's valuable. He's a grafter, and he's not a left back now. He can't play a left back. He's been good at left back in the past, but he's always going to be targeted. I think he's a better centre half, but I would certainly keep Burn for another season or a bit. Do you buy replica kits, and which of the seasons have you got? Adidas redoing the maroon and blue 96 away. Will you buy that? Well, I stopped buying replica kits when Mike Ashley started being a pain in the backside, and I have bought virtually all of the Adidas strips. I didn't buy the green one this year. I didn't like the green one, but I've made up with buying a lot of the special stuff. I like it. It's nice. And I don't think there's anything wrong with people in their 50s wearing it. So I do personally feel that you're also helping support the club. So yes, I do buy the replica strips, and I tend to wear them around the house, wear them on holiday, of course, but I don't go out day to day wearing them. But I tend to wear a lot of the old ones when I'm training as well. So yeah, I do buy replica kits again, but I didn't under Ashley. So there we go. I'm not at blaming Burn for being at left back. That's on how. I really like Gahey. Such a shame we didn't get him done. Not only a good player, but a fantastic character with fans and teammates. I would agree. Time to get Sean Need more of a try over Asula. I've seen a lot of people saying that. Darren, I haven't seen enough of him, but Darren, who does the fans for him, watches him, and he says he's okay, but it's a big jump in it. Big jump from that level to there. Right, thank you to everybody for watching. I have to draw an end to it at 45 minutes, and great to see everybody in the chat early doors. Please like the video and give it a share if you haven't already. Different social media, it is helpful to us. And don't forget, a week tomorrow we have the Christmas do, which is in aid of Age UK North Tyneside Dementia. And nufcmatterspodcast.uk is the is the website address to book your tickets. They're only £12. Warren Barton, Joe Allen, Adam Henderson, and Sid will be DJing, and should be a cracking night. That good chance to catch up with a lot of the Matters crowd. Okay, thanks for watching. Back tomorrow at 5 o'clock with the Amigos. See you then. A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. You can find them at their website, skipsandbins.com. contact them at www.skipsandbins.com/contact. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. A big thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. You can find them at their website, mrvickies.co.uk, email info@mrvickies.co.uk, or telephone 01768 210 102. Thanks to our fanzine sponsor, United Group Travel. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. 2-crew driver and courier, local family company, 3-star plus quality hotels and no interchanges. Hot and cold snacks and drinks available on the coach, all excursions included. Their website, unitedgrouptravel.com, email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com, telephone 01670 632 460 or 0791 666 4174. Just £30 per person deposit. Thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the technical side of things. And if you like listening to us as a podcast, you can go to Sports Social Podcast Network or to iTunes, Spotify, or other podcast providers. If you want to support the show, then hit the subscribe button. It's free. We do 7 shows a week. Hit the little thumb up under the video, which is the like button, or click share to share to your social media. You can also join the channel on YouTube by hitting the join button for as little as $1.99 a month. If you want to become an NUFC Matters member, you can go to nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk. It's a £25 one-off fee. You get your pen, you get your badge, a key ring, you get your beer mat and your fridge magnet and your membership card, nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk for that. And we have an event early next year, 13th of February 2026, an evening with Beardsley, Waddle and Gascoigne takes place at the Tyne Theatre and Opera House. To buy your tickets for that event, go to the box office 0191 243 1171 or Tyne Theatre and Opera House.uk.